If you are a football fan, you should consider yourself truly blessed to be living through the era of both Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. The dominance, brilliance and consistency of these two players at the very highest level over more than a decade is unprecedented in this sport, at least in terms of the last 50 years. The degree to which they have ruled the sport for so many years has inevitably led to comparisons between the two, and even support, especially among young people, to either a Messi or Ronaldo camp, sometimes as partisan as one would traditionally expect someone to follow a club rather than an individual. This seems very strange to me, and I think anyone who is incapable of appreciating the talents of both players isn't really a football fan. They are a Messi or Ronaldo fan. Nevertheless, it is impossible not to take an opinion with regards to considering one player overall to be superior to the other, and subscribers to this channel will know that I have done so often unavoidably on multiple occasions. Funnily enough, the venom with which some people approach any discussion of both Messi and Ronaldo means there are genuinely a large number of people who will angrily boast they have unsubscribed from the channel in the comments because I've stated, or merely suggested, my preference in terms of who I consider to be the better player, as if, somehow, everything else that I've ever said they wholeheartedly agreed with. This is a football channel where literally all I do for the most part is share my views on football, with the exception of the odd factual video, so the idea of unsubscribing because you disagree with a single one of my opinions seems a bit strange. Surely, if you agreed with literally everything I said, this would be an incredibly tedious channel in which you clicked on my videos, I confirmed everything that you already thought, and then the same thing happened the next morning. Anyhow, with that little monologue out of the way, today's video is all about something that I've found to be a recurring theme of any discussion regarding Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, and it's one that I believe to be totally false. So I'll lay it out to you here, and you just let me know if you've ever heard anything along these lines before. Lionel Messi was just born incredibly gifted and would always have made it to the top since he's so naturally gifted. Meanwhile, Ronaldo's success is a triumph of mind over matter, born out of his incredible work ethic, drive, and subsequent athleticism. Ring any bells? The idea, I suppose, is that Messi is an artist and that Ronaldo is a machine. It's one of those ideas, the sort of which I often seem to discuss on this channel, which has just been posited and parroted with such frequency that it is assumed as fact. But it really isn't the case. One of the implications of that, if not outright statement sometimes, is that Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't always an incredibly gifted footballer. Anyone who can remember and was actually paying any attention during the early 2000s knows that just wasn't the case. Ronaldo did not have rock-hard abs, the ability to leap up buildings, or gladiatorial stamina when he first broke through at Sporting Club de Portugal. Even upon his arrival at Manchester United, Ronaldo was a skinny teenage white man with a poor complexion. If you had asked most people what they thought of Cristiano Ronaldo in 2003, they probably would have said that he had some great flicks and tricks, that he was obviously very talented, but that perhaps he wasn't physical enough and that he lacked a bit of end product. That seems bizarre when one thinks of the player Ronaldo went on to become, but he became one of the most sought-after young players in the world thanks primarily to his quick feet, dazzling skills, and ability to beat players. Manchester United signed Cristiano Ronaldo in the summer of 2003 following a pre-season friendly against Sporting Club de Portugal, in which the Red Devils lost 3-1 and Ronaldo gave Manchester United's backline problems all afternoon. You can watch extensive highlights of that game on YouTube, and that alone should dispel any idea that Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't supremely talented from the very first moment in which he entered a football pitch. Of course, talent and flair are not enough in of themselves, and Ronaldo still had a long way to go before he would start winning Ballon d'Ors. But we shouldn't pretend that Ronaldo was a sort of average to good footballer who only became great because of an incessant obsession to become the best player he could possibly be, and a sensational attitude towards every single training session, meal, and game that he approached. To be absolutely clear, that is not to say that all of those things are not also true. Ronaldo is a model professional, described by almost everyone that he has ever played alongside as the most driven and hard-working player they ever shared a dressing room with. From the moment he arrived at Old Trafford, Ronaldo had an insatiable appetite to reach the top. The first into training and the last to depart, many former Manchester United players will tell you of the number of hours Ronaldo would spend practicing free kicks or some new skill to bamboozle whichever fullback had the misfortune of coming up against in the following weekend. All these things are true, they are not mutually exclusive, and without them, Ronaldo would never have become a 5-time Ballon d'Or winner who has scored more than 700 goals when one combines his club and international tallies. Talent alone is never enough. Anyone who's worked in football knows that. When Cristiano Ronaldo arrived at Manchester United, he told teammates, "If you think I'm good, just wait until you see Fabio Paim." If you are wondering who Fabio Paim is, your football knowledge is not as dreadful as you may fear, he just never amounted to much. A star in the Sporting and Portugal youth ranks, Payne never made a league appearance for Sporting, and he has had only very brief stints at clubs in Angola, Qatar, and Lithuania, and now aged 32, he hasn't had a club in 2 years. The point is not that Cristiano Ronaldo is always destined for greatness, just that he was an incredibly talented youngster. So talented, in fact, that an all-conquering Manchester United team demanded the club bring him to Old Trafford after facing him once. The likes of Nani and Ricardo Quaresma are often talked about as having been enormous wasted talents, but one can make a strong case for Ronaldo having been more talented than both at every age. On the flip side, the commonly repeated Messi and Ronaldo mantra somewhat implies that Lionel Messi could live off a diet of Wendy's burgers and chocolate milkshakes, training as often as Ledley King, and still have made it right to the very top. Messi was always very talented, of that there is no doubt. I don't know how good you have to be at the age of 13 for Barcelona to offer to move you and your family from Argentina to Barcelona and cover all of your medical bills due to a growth hormone disorder with a contract written on the back of a napkin. They considered it to be so urgent, but I'm guessing that it's pretty good. Indeed, even earlier than with Ronaldo, you can watch clips of a 2-foot-tall Messi slaloming past kids twice his age and size as if they weren't there. So I can understand those who looked at a young Lionel Messi and said, this boy was born to play football. The fact remains, however, that a teenage Messi, much like a teenage Ronaldo, naturally had many flaws to his game. If one thinks of the aspects of Messi's game that could be criticised or considered flaws in his early years, they would likely be his reliance on his left foot, his lack of strength, and his ability from set pieces. Messi has worked methodically over the years on every single one of those flaws, almost to the point of removing them altogether. Messi is still much stronger on his left than his right foot, but he is so good with his left foot that you almost never see it hinder his ability to go in certain directions, shift the ball onto a different side, or find the back of the net. Messi scores around 15% of his goals with his right foot, a number that has steadily increased over the years. Messi's strength, and he has remarkable core strength, has improved every season since his breakout campaign. Messi may not look like a Greek god or an Olympic weightlifter, but he is incredibly difficult to knock off the ball, as many players, twice his size, who have tried and failed will testify. Catching Messi is now an impossible, but even when you get to him, knocking him off the ball without committing a foul is easier said than done. Lastly, and most emphatically, Messi's prowess from free kicks really emphasises his remarkable work rate and relentless appetite for self-improvement. Messi was actually considered a fairly poor free kick taker in his early years, with Barcelona's free kick duties tending to fall on Xavi's head. Now Messi is considered by many to be the finest free kick taker in world football. If you rewind to 2008 or 2009, when Cristiano Ronaldo was at Manchester United, he was the most lethal free kick taker in the Premier League. Meanwhile, Messi had scored just one direct free kick for Barcelona. In the 2018-19 season, Messi scored 8 goals from direct free kicks, the most in Europe, whilst Ronaldo scored none. Messi is now statistically, and clearly to anyone who watches football, a more accurate and prolific free kick taker than Ronaldo. That didn't happen by accident. It happened because Messi identified it as a rare weakness within his game, worked tirelessly to improve it, and is now reaping the rewards. Of course, I strongly suspect Ronaldo still works tirelessly on his free kicks, and his regression in terms of free kick taking is a mystery, but Messi's improvement is testament to his exceptional drive. The flaws to Messi's game were so minor that few people even noticed, and even fewer would ever have had the audacity to complain about them. But the Argentine still had a relentless individual drive to perfect those elements of his game. It's a similar story when it comes to penalties. Cristiano Ronaldo has long been a more clinical penalty taker than Messi, and he still is superior to the Barcelona captain from 12 yards out. Messi has missed 26 penalties in total across his entire career, but he has only missed 2 in the last 2 seasons, having missed 4 in the 2017-18 campaign alone. Again, these things don't happen by accident. We hear a lot of talk about Cristiano Ronaldo's diet and training regimes, but very little about Messi. Contrary to what the Messi and Ronaldo myth may suggest, Messi also lives a rather monk-like life. Messi spends hours on the training ground, focusing primarily on retaining his pace, agility, and explosiveness now that he's into his 30s, given the obvious importance of retaining that half a yard of pace. Messi has a regimented training regime focused around those priorities, and he follows it methodically. Like most top players, Messi also has a nutritionist, but Giuliano Posa is stricter than most. Messi is a vegetarian during the football season, which for him is typically not far off 50 out of the 52 weeks in a year, given his club and international commitments. Messi's diet is essentially vegan with only a few exceptions, with his diet built around 5 key ingredients: water, olive oil, whole grains, fresh fruit, and fresh vegetables. If he is feeling particularly indulgent, the Argentine legend may dabble with nuts and seeds. Messi doesn't not eat meat on ethical or environmental grounds, as far as he has said himself at least, but for purely nutritional reasons. His favourite foods are actually chicken and beef, but if he is to continue playing at the highest level into his mid and possibly even late 30s, Messi has stated that he needs to remain disciplined in terms of what he puts into his body. So there you have it. Cristiano Ronaldo isn't purely an engineered goal-scoring machine born out of sheer willpower and determination, and Lionel Messi wasn't born with 6 Ballon d'Ors in his hands. It may fit a nice, easy narrative to follow and help draw some kind of dichotomy between the two greatest players of our generation, but the truth is rarely that simple or contrived, and it most certainly isn't in this case. It is easy to see why this view has become somewhat pervasive in recent years because of the way in which Ronaldo has modified his game so gradually and effectively. Once the fleet-footed teenage sensation at Old Trafford, Ronaldo is now a cold-blooded goal-getter with a near-psychotic focus on finding the back of the net. Lionel Messi has also modified his game significantly, dropping ever deeper to help start moves earlier and moving around less but picking up even more intelligent positions. Both players reduced elements of showmanship early on in their careers and have continued to do so right up to the present day, and that is because their decision making is constantly improving. Doing 8 step-overs when there is no one near you, as Ronaldo did when he was 18, is not a particularly useful or effective use of one's time or effort. He learned this early on, and it's not that there's anything wrong with displaying flair or skill, or that he is no longer capable of pulling off spectacular tricks, just that they are rarely the most efficient and effective course of action. So let it be said that Lionel Messi has all the God-given talent in the world, and that Cristiano Ronaldo is a remarkable athlete with an incredible drive to be the best footballer he can possibly be. But let it also be said that Cristiano Ronaldo had all the God-given talent in the world, and that Lionel Messi is a remarkable athlete with an incredible drive to be the best footballer he can possibly be. You do not reach the levels these two have reached and remain at that level for more than a decade through sheer talent or through sheer willingness. It has to be a combination of the two, and Messi and Ronaldo are no exception. That is it for today's video. You may think everything I've said is very obvious and that you'd have to be a fool to think otherwise, but it's an idea I see a lot and one that I wanted to quell. You may equally think the original statement remains the full story of these two greats of our time and that I'm talking absolute nonsense. You're wrong, of course, but either way, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, preferably whilst avoiding the usual debate with regards to who is the better of the two. Thank you all for watching, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and, well, if you're not subscribed by now, frankly, I don't know what you're doing, but there's no time like the present to make amends and join the HITC Sevens family.